I'm gluten-free Gigi. I understand how difficult it can be to enjoy the foods you love on a special diet. That's why I'm making these videos. Come join me in the kitchen. I'm so excited to share with you a fantastic recipe from my friend Brooke from Australia. Brooke has fabulous recipe for Mama's Meatballs, her mom's special recipe, Brooke's favorite growing up. But she has a problem with the gluten-free pasta, and I'm helping out. So, Brooke shared a recipe. You can see it on her blog, Gluten-Free Mischief, if you'd like to check that out. We're going to do this in 3 parts, so it'll be nice and simple. Let's start with the meatballs. I've got a ½ pound of ground beef, and to that I'm going to add 2/3 of a cup of rice crumbs. I'm not sure exactly what Brooke used. I want to show you what I'm using. These are all rice crackers. They have just a little sea salt in them, and that's crushed. Just taken those and put them in a zipper bag and used a rolling pin to crush those up. So this will help bind your meat for the meatballs. And start to work these in. And then we want to add 2 lightly beaten eggs. And this will also help with binding. I want to add a teaspoon of minced garlic. I'm cheating and using the jar kind. You can chop a clove of garlic if you like. Brooke's recipe calls for 1 clove minced, and that's about a teaspoon. Mix this together, and then we'll add, once this is fully combined, we will add a 1/4 cup of roughly chopped basil. Brooke's recipe calls for parsley, and I haven't been able to get good fresh parsley, but I did find good fresh basil, and she uses basil in her sauce, so I'll also put that in the meatballs. But if you have parsley, you go right ahead. You want to make sure this is really well combined, and you see how soft this mixture is, so you'll need to be extra careful when we roll these into our meatballs. And Brooke's tip in Mama's recipe is that we keep these really small, no larger than a walnut. So we're going to make about 1 to 1 1/4, 1 1/2 inch meatballs. They stay together better if you keep them small. And now we'll just go in with our hands. I have a pan I've lined with wax paper. We're not baking anything, but I do want somewhere to keep these. So we'll roll all of this mixture into small-ish meatballs. So you can see this is going to make a lot of meatballs. Roll all these out, and after we get these done, I'm going to show you how to make a simple sauce that these will simmer in. We've got our meatballs ready. Have a look here. I ended up making 26 meatballs with my ½ pound of meat mixture. Next, we need to start our sauce. Come on over and have a look. In Brooke's recipe, she uses 3 cups of Italian tomato sauce. I wanted to use San Marzano tomatoes, so have a look here. I bought the peeled whole tomatoes, and I left these in their juice, and I pureed these in the food processor to get a tomato sauce consistency. So this is 3 cups of Italian tomato sauce, and I'm adding 1 15-ounce can of petite diced tomatoes. I've drained these. And we'll stir this. I've got this on medium heat. We're going to bring it to a simmer. And when it simmers, we'll come back and I'll show you how we add our meatballs. We're simmering our sauce. Come over, have a look. So we're at a slow, low simmer. See the bubbles? We don't want to boil this full on. So we're ready to add our meatballs now. It smells fantastic already. Add these carefully, one at a time. Come over and see how I'm spacing them out in our sauce. If you dump them all in, they'll break. And these are very delicate. So you just want to carefully add them. When we get all the meatballs in, we want to reduce our heat to low. And we'll cover our pot. And these will get to simmer in here and get all delicious for 30 minutes. And while that's going on, we're going to get to what Brooke really wants to find out from Gluten-free Gigi, which is how to make the best gluten-free pasta you've ever had. So I'll cover my pot, we'll come back and we'll make pasta. Are you ready to make pasta? I am. The best gluten-free pasta. So easy. So Brooke, this is for you. We've got a 1/2 cup of white rice flour, 1/2 cup of brown rice flour, have a 1/4 cup of tapioca flour, and I have a 1/4 cup of potato starch. Make sure you use potato starch, not potato flour. 3/4 of a teaspoon of xanthan or guar gum. I'm using xanthan. I've used both. And that was 3/4 of a teaspoon. Take your whisk, blend your dry ingredients. The potato starch tends to get lumpy, so make sure you don't have any lumps in here. Make your pasta dough easy to work with. You can make this for about 1/4 of what it would cost you to buy gluten-free pasta, and it's so much better. Got 3 lightly beaten eggs. Have a look. They're not whipped. Don't destroy the protein structure. That's important in your gluten-free baked items. Pasta is the same. So put your 3 eggs in and then we'll stir. You're going to end up with coarse crumb mixture. And we want this to form into a ball of dough. When you get to this point, it's time to use your hands. Make sure you get all the dough bits here on the bottom of the bowl. Your bowl should be somewhat clean. And then you just squish away. It's a little sticky, but that's how you want it. A little sticky is good. Don't add more flour. We need to add more when we roll. We don't want to dry our pasta out. And you'll see it change just a bit when it rests at room temperature, wrapped tightly in wax paper for 15 minutes. And that's what we're ready to do now. So I have wax paper right here. Let's put our ball of dough here. We'll wrap this up. Put this to the side. Let it rest 15 minutes, room temperature, and then we'll come back and roll it out. Have a look at the sauce. Fantastic. We've been simmering over low for 30 minutes. Gentle stir. Don't disturb the meatballs. They need about 15 more minutes uncovered. I'm going to put these from low to 1 on my burner, and what we want to do is add our last 2 ingredients for the sauce. I have a 1/4 cup of fresh basil that is roughly chopped, and a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. That'll just round out the acid in those tomatoes. We'll give this just a gentle stir, 15 minutes. While this is going, it's a perfect time to get our pasta rolled out and cut into noodles and finish our dish. It's been 15 minutes and our pasta is ready to unwrap, and I want to show you how to roll this out. It's so easy. So remember how sticky it was? It was all over my hand when we put it in here, and now the gum has had time to work with our gluten-free flours and it's not nearly as sticky. So that's why we need to let it rest. Now take your disc. This doesn't have to be perfect. You can cut this into sections, fourths, cut it into 6 pieces, however you like. We'll try 4ths. You take 1. I have some brown rice flour here. You can use any gluten-free flour that you used in your pasta, brown rice, white rice, or either of the starches, the tapioca flour or the potato starch. So get a little flour on your piece of pasta. And we want to roll this out. And I keep a plate nearby so I can put my finished noodles on the plate before I cook them. I have a pot of water on the stove. I'm going to boil that. I've put some sea salt in mine, so we don't salt this dough. So we want a little salt on our pasta. You can roll your pasta however you like. We want it to be as thin as possible. And because Brooke's mother served her famous meatballs and sauce with fettuccine, we'll do a fettuccine style noodle. Keep this board well floured so you can continue to turn. You notice I keep picking this up and putting it back down. And the reason I'm able to do that is because we have a well floured board. Now at some point you won't be able to. But so far so good, and you can sort of get an idea of how thick this is here. The reason I said when it's sticky at the end of the mixing by hand that you don't want to add any more flour to it is for this reason, because now we're able to add flour as we roll. And again, go as thin as you care to. Going with a sharp knife, you can keep these scraps or discard them, it's up to you, but we'll show a pretty edge here for our dish. Just go in and trim these up, and you can re-roll these if you like. You get a nice area to work with. Just to cut this in half, and fettuccine in Italian means little ribbons, and a fettuccine noodle is about 1/4 inch. So what you'll do is you'll continue with all of the sections of dough. Cut these into your little ribbons. And when the water's boiling, we'll put this in for about 3 to 4 minutes. But you can see how nice this fresh pasta is. It just falls right out of your hand, not sticky at all. So I'll transfer mine to a plate. Our water is coming to a boil. We'll come back and put some in, and I'll show you how quickly this will cook. Alright, our water's boiling. Here's our plate of pasta. Looks fantastic. So we just want to carefully put this in. It's a little delicate, so be careful with it. This cooks so much more quickly than the store-bought pasta. So much better for you. So I want to give it just a quick, gentle stir. Make sure all your noodles are separated. Notice there's no oil or butter or anything in here. We don't need to worry about that. These will not stick together. So we want to let this come back up and just boil, and then it'll be ready to take out and serve. Alright, it's been about 3.5 minutes, and our pasta is becoming tender, and you can see how it begins to get a little translucent around the edge. And you can always take a piece out and just nibble it, and after it cools for just a sec, to make sure it's how you like yours. The way I like to take mine up is just in a wire mesh sieve. Go ahead and turn the heat on. Just scoop it right up. And again, there's no butter, no oil on this. These noodles just don't stick together. That's the benefit of this fresh pasta. And how easy is that? Our pasta is ready. How quick was that? I served this up next to Mama's Meatballs, courtesy of my friend Brooke. Brooke, I know you're going to love my homemade pasta. I know I'm going to love Mama's Meatballs, and so will you.